Imam Hussein TV 1, and inshallah this channel will be at your service for those who speak in the Farsi language. Now this is all possible with your donations, my dear brothers and sisters. This has all been possible through your contributions and your help in completing this building. This room right here is going to be for the staff, for their planning, producing, managing the shows in the Farsi language. So my dear brothers and sisters, we are here on the 4th floor. This floor here is going to be dedicated to the Arabic channel, the Imam Hussein TV 2, which is dedicated to serve its viewers in the Arabic language, the most popular Imam Hussein TV out of the group. You can see the wiring, the cabling, the roofing still hasn't been done, which can all be done through your donations. Now, this floor is quite empty because we are short-staffed. We do need staff to work here, and these staff can only be hired, and it's possible through your generous donations. Like we said, Imam Hussein TV Media Group is an organization run on your donations. This room here is for the montage, everything that's going to be happening, the editing, the direction, all of that will be done in this.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. I hope you've had a fantastic break and you were able to commemorate the death of Imam Ali, the tragic martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and also remembered myself and the Shaykh in your prayers and your amal during the holy nights of Laylatul Qadr. Alhamdulillah, we are back now. Inshallah, we'll be continuing our discussions every night here on Imam Hussein TV 3 until the day of Eid, inshallah. This is a live show. We do take in all your questions, so if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please send it in via the WhatsApp, the email address, or give us a call here in the studio, +44 203 515 0199. Inshallah, myself and the Shaykh will be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Shaykh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you? And how was your Laylatul Qadr, your nights off? Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, may Allah accept it. وَتَقَبَّلَ أَعْمَالَكُم.
Minna minkum, inshallah, Shaykhna. Shaykhna, my first question is that I've heard that during the holy month of Ramadan, is this true?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. In the prophetic sermon, sallallahu alaihi wa with regards to the month of Ramadan, he mentions this point that yes, in this holy month, the gates of paradise will be open, and the gates of hellfire would be closed, and the Satan would be in shackles, it would be locked in somehow. As states in his sermon, أيها الناس إن أبواب الجنان في هذا الشهر مفتحة. O people, the gates of heaven, of paradise, in this month are kept open. This is a unique opportunity, a unique a gift which is given by Allah Azza wa Jal in this holy month, to keep the door of paradise open. فَاسْأَلُوا رَبَّكُمْ أَنْ لَا يُغَلِّقَهَا عَلَيْكُمْ. So ask your Lord not to close them against you. Why should the doors of paradise to be closed, God forbid? Because of our sins. We have to be careful. وَأَبْوَابَ النِّيرَانِ مُغَلَّقَةٌ فَاسْأَلُوا اللَّهَ أَنْ لَا يُفَتِّحَهَا عَلَيْكُمْ. and the gates of fire, of hellfire, are kept closed. So pray Allah, your Lord, not to open them for you again. This is the blessings of this holy month, in which the gates of hellfire are closed. But the problem is with us, with our ego, with our nafs al-ammara, bis-su', in which we might be committing sins in this holy month, where we open the door for the hellfire, na'udhu billah, and close the door of the paradise and heaven because of our bad deeds. So we try in this holy month as much as we can to refrain from the muharramat, from all that brings the wrath of Allah Azza wa Jal on us, the anger of Allah Azza wa Jal on us, and to keep this door of paradise open, so that may Allah, bestows us with His mercy of rahmah, that we can gain paradise, inshallah. So we try, inshallah, to keep the heavens door open and the hellfire's door closed with our good deeds, inshallah.
Inshallah, Shaykh. Shaykh, with charities who collect khums and things like that, are they allowed to dispose of it to, let's say, needy families that they know, or do they have to get the marja'iyya's permission before they spend it on any charitable work?
Basically, they need the ijazah or the permission from the marja' in order to spend and give these huquq to the right people. And of course, the ijazah usually it's not given fully; it's given only a portion of it. So, for example, if you have poor sayyids who are in need of money, in need of let's say clothing, food, and so forth, you would take the ijazah to give the portion of the sayyid or sahmul sada to the poor sayyid who is in need of it, and the rest, the sahmul imam, would go back to and given to the faqih, to the marja'. So you have to make sure before you use this amount of money or spend it, you have to have the ijazah from your marja' in order to be able to spend it in the right direction. Because if la samahallah it wasn't spent properly, then it's a problem.
Okay. Shaykh, a question from one of our viewers, and that is, if one made nadhr but later forgot completely, what was the nadhr? What should he or she do?
If they forgot the nadhr, then they need to do nothing except istighfar. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Because the nadhr is something between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. That if I get this, I'll do this act of worship, for example. So we have to make sure that we fulfill these oaths and nadhrs and the qasam, whatever we say with Allah Azza wa Jal, we have to try to fulfill them. But if somebody forgets them, then they do istighfar. And the best way is to write your nadhr, or your qasam or your oath.
That's really good idea.
Write it down somewhere, so when you have given the haja or the need for that request, then of course you do the nadhr by going back to the notes you've written. How much is the amount of nadhr, and so forth.
Excellent. Shaykhna, if a blind person breaks his fast on the basis of a statement of a person, and then he learns that Maghrib has not set in, is the fast still valid?
Well, this individual broke his fast by relying on somebody else's timing, which came out wrong. They only need to do the qada of that day, but there's no kafara. So just the qada afterwards, after the holy month of Ramadan, without any kafara.
Shaykhna, we live in a world, what they call a global village, where we have different people living in different parts of the world. And also when people, migrate to other countries, they do bring their culture with them, food, clothes. So for Muslims that live, let's say somewhere like Japan, is there additional Islamic clothing? For example, if a Muslim man wants to wear a distasha, maybe an imama with a cloak, ladies, are they allowed to wear abayas, chador and so forth while they're in a foreign country where nobody wears such items of clothing?
Basically, for the hijab issue, wherever the sisters go in faith, they have to wear the hijab. and the hijab should be acceptable by the Sharia. So it has to be wide enough. Now she can choose to wear the abaya or the chador, you know, on top of the abaya, on top of the manto. They call it manto in some countries, which is great, of course. So even she's the only person who's wearing this abaya or the chador in this protecting one's dignity, and also teaching others that this is the real way and the right way in which the one should, as a female, to be outside in front of the others, to be protected as they protect their gold and silver. With regards to the wearing of dishdasha or the religious customs, I mean, we have, you know, some countries in which they, you know, from different religions and faiths and creeds, they live with each other. So there's no issue with it to express your belief, your aqidah, and wear your own costumes and hijab, or for the male to wear the dishdasha, for example, unless there is a extreme danger and things will change.
Okay. Shaykhna, istikhara is a strong practice within our communities, and sometimes it's used for marriage purposes. Now, if two parties that want to get married both do istikhara, and it came out that the istikhara came out bad, but these two parties still feel that, you know, they are compatible, both parties feel like they want to move forward, what can they do in this situation when the istikhara didn't really work in their favor for both parties?
Initially, istikhara is done in the times of hesitation and uncertainty. That's very important. And we say this in Iraq, al-khira and al-hira. Istikhara is in the time of hesitation. They both are agreed and they like to get married to each other, and there's no issues, then there's no point of istikhara. There's no need for istikhara. Tawakkul ala Allah and then get married, and that's it. Not everything you need to take istikhara, unless you're uncertain, unsure about it. And if somebody wants to go against the istikhara, then they have to give sadaqah.
Okay.
And then they go for against the istikhara, but I wouldn't recommend myself. You know, if I have the istikhara is bad, then I would try to avoid it. Or I wait until the situations change, things change. Then I can actually, let's say, do another istikhara and see what happens. In overall, the one should not go against the istikhara if it's bad, because we've seen results from those who go against the istikhara. That I remember that once a father called and did istikhara, and it was for his daughter marriage. Okay. So the istikhara was bad, but he went against it, and they got married. You know, his daughter, she got married. After a few months, they divorced. They divorced. So we've seen the results of going against the istikhara when it's bad. So we have to be careful with this issue. Let me just go back to the prophetic sermon with regard to this holy month, in which we said that the doors of paradise will be open and the doors of hellfire will be closed. In addition, the Holy Prophet ﷺ mentions that وَالشَّيَاطِينَ مَغْلُولَةً فَاسْأَلُوا رَبَّكُمْ أَلَّا يُسَلِّطُهَا عَلَيْكُمْ. And the devils, the Satan, are kept chained in this holy month. Therefore, pray Allah, your Lord, not to unleash them against you. In other words, again, it's up to us with our bad manners and behavior and mouth. You know, sometimes I do ghiba, I swear, I use repulsive language, bad language. I open the chains of shaitan.
Yes.
And he approaches me and he comes to me. So, with taqwa, with piety, with observing, you know, God-fearing, that sense of, the feeling of taqwa is very important in this holy month. That on top of fasting, we try to observe this taqwa, specifically in this holy month, inshallah.
So a question from one of our viewers, and that is, Assalamu alaikum. Does taking Ventolin inhaler void the fast? Okay, inhalers that you take for asthma, I guess. Does that break the fast?
I think we've answered this question before. Basically, if there's a thin dust or thin gas, I don't know what's it called exactly, that substance, it doesn't. But if there's a thick dust or thick, I don't know, steam, that will break the fast.
No problem. Also, Assalamu alaikum. My question is, my question is there anywhere written in the Quran that a wife cannot choose, or rather doesn't have a choice, if she wants to live with her in-laws, or not at this topic is not much discussed about? Okay, because sometimes when people are getting married, they have this condition that she has to stay at home, she has to stay with the in-laws and so forth. Islamically speaking, is any Quranic reference ayah to back this up?
I haven't come across, I don't know, I haven't really seen such a verse. If there is, I don't know, maybe narrations, I'm not sure. But we have to make sure to differentiate between what in ahkam of Islam and what is in tradition. Sometimes we have to avoid mixing the ahkam with traditions, with the village or the tribal traditions. That's important. But I'm not sure about this particular mas'ala.
Shaykhna, why do the Shia curse certain companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? As Sunnis say that they should be respected because they saw the Prophet and lived with him. Can you give any evidence from the Quran and Hadith which is correct?
Well, the best thing for this individual is to go back to the famous book with the title of Nights of Peshawar, Peshawar Nights. Exactly. This famous book, you can find it on alislam.org, Peshawar Nights. It's all there. All the evidences and the dalil for the curse in the Holy Quran and in the narrations from their books is mentioned in this book. So, because at the end of the day, I mean, we can't just rely on specific or certain narrations in their books that, for example, all the Sahaba are praised, for example. We have to look at a group of Sahaba in the hereafter, on the day of judgment, when they come to the point of Kawthar. They come, a group of Sahaba, it's mentioned, I think Bukhari or Muslim mentions this. They come to Rasulullah. So the Rasulullah says, no, they are not, push them away. He actually asked them to go away. And the response comes that, I think from the angels, that they did something after your death. So basically, not all Sahaba are righteous and good. Unlike what they say, that they say they're all just and in paradise. And that's of course wrong, because we saw the Sahaba and the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they fought each other. In the Battle of Camel, in one side Talha and Zubayr, in one side was Ammar ibn Yasir, and other Sahaba. In Siffin, we saw that Muawiyah on one side, and Ali on one side. Also, the Muawiyah army killed Ammar ibn Yasir, Sahabi. So is it halal to kill Sahabi of Rasulullah? Is it halal to wage war, for example, against the Imam Ali alayhi salam, who they considered the fourth Khalifa? So we have to use our intellect and aql and reasoning before we just, praise everyone that saw the Prophet and met with the Prophet and sat with the Prophet and heard the hadith of the Prophet. They fought each other. Who is in hellfire and who is in paradise? You have to go back to Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to find out who deserves to be praised and who deserves to be made la'na and damnation up on Quranically and as well hadith.
Shaykhna, another question from the WhatsApp. Hold on if I can bring it up. And that is, does taking medicine tablet void the fast? What if someone has slept around Isha and misses the suhoor time and wake up around the time of Fajr? Can they take the tablet, continue fasting? So someone is on medication. First of all, can you take the tablet while you're fasting? Secondly, what if you slept during the suhoor time and so forth, and prescribed, you had to take the medicine. Are you allowed to take the tablet and continue fasting?
This is also mentioned just recently that if somebody has been given a prescribed medication during the day, then they're not obliged to fast. Khalas. They're considered to be as ill as marid.
Yes.
And they have to break their fast and take those medications. Especially those, for example, who have extreme diabetes. I don't know, there's levels of 1, 2, 3, I think, I'm not sure exactly. For example, those who can't really bear fasting, and they have to take medications during the daytime, no fasting are obliged for them. Khalas. They just break the fast. If they are, inshallah, better after the holy Ramadan, they can make it up later. But in anyhow, they have to see if the fasting harms them. If it harms them, they have to avoid fasting. And they have to break their fast and take the medication and the pills and tablets and so forth.
Sheikh, an elderly woman in her 85 years old, asking what can she do as she didn't fast in her past, for what she pay back the fast?
Basically, she needs to write in her will that after her death, someone should do the qada of the fast for the past years. In addition to that, because she broke the fast deliberately, intentionally, then of course there is kafar to be paid for every missed day, and that's to pay 60 paupers or 60 miskin of food for each. Also to pay fidya for delaying the qada as well. So lots of qada, lots of payments to be made. The advice is that if one can catch up with his missed fasts and prayers before they get, my son, my daughter, Allah knows what's going to happen after death. So best thing to do it yourself when you're alive and healthy. Try to make it up later yourself and not to leave it to others. And of course, the door of istighfar and repentance is open. May Allah forgive this lady, inshallah, and to find somebody who can make up these fasts after her death, and to pay the kafara as well and the fidya.
Shaykh, a person went to the hospital for a blood test and he was told that he needs to break his fast after the test. They found out that it was not right. Does he need to do qada and pay a kafara?
No, this individual needs only to do the qada, and there's no kafara, because he relied on an expert, a medical expert in this field, in which he found out that there's no need. So because he broke it, it shouldn't be broken, then the one needs only to do the qada of this mistake.
Shaykhna, a question from one of our viewers, and that is it permissible for a girl who has reached puberty age and wears hijab to show her feet in front of men?
No, the feet must be covered. It's wajib for a sister, for a woman to cover her feet as well. That's part of the hijab. Yes, the only one which are allowed to be shown are the hands and the face as well, without makeup, without any attractions, beautification, and so forth.
Sheikh, another question from one of our viewers, and that is for a person who is fasting to pick his teeth.
It's not mandatory to pick the teeth in sahar time, let's say before Adhan Fajr, as long as you're sure that nothing will go inside your throat in the daytime. So, I mean, even brushing the teeth, it's not wajib. If you're sure that nothing goes inside in the daytime, then you can. But of course, to clean your teeth is something
highly recommended.
Healthy as well.
It helps improve memory as well.
Exactly.
Shaykhna, does swallowing saliva invalidate the fast?
No, it doesn't.
And if a person does not know whether or not he is able to fast, is it permissible for him not to fast on grounds of advice from a non-believing doctor?
You see, yes, it is permissible not to fast if the doctor is trustworthy. I've mentioned this, we had a discussion about it, that sometimes the doctor says, don't fast, but you know yourself that you can fast, then it's wajib for you to fast. Sometimes the doctor says, you you can fast, but you feel you can't fast, then you shouldn't fast. So it's a mutual decision-making process between you and the doctor. But sometimes I can't make the decision. I can't. I mean, something as a new ailment, a new illness. I'm not sure if I can fast or not. So the doctor can actually find out. So if he's trustworthy, you trust him. Yes, you can take his word, and not to.
The fasting person was in a city, and when Maghrib is approached, he broke his fast. Then on the same day, he traveled to another city while the sun was not set yet. Is it mandatory upon him to refrain from eating and drinking? According to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani.
Well, His Eminence mentions that it is not mandatory for this individual to refrain from eating and drinking. In other words, you can eat and drink, that's fine. Because what happened that on that particular day, he completed his siyam, وَأَتِمُّ الصِّيَامِ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, till night he remained fasting, and then he broke his fast by Adhan Maghrib time. Now because of his travel, of the speed of travel, he went somewhere else, and it was still, there was no sunset yet. Then of course, the Sayyid mentions that it's not wajib, you can keep eating and drinking, that day is counted, but as a mustahab precaution, to refrain from eating and drinking. Mustahab precaution means it's better, but it's not compulsory.
Shaykh, a question from one of our viewers, and that is it valid to make another on fasting in travel?
Yes, it is allowed to do such another in travel, and I think there's a discussion with regards to the Hajj. Those who go to Mecca, I think by the Jeddah airport, they want to wear the ihram. There's a specific issues they talk about it, about the nether in overall.
Yes.
To do nether specific. I can't remember exactly the mas'ala, but yes, it is with regards to fasting. Yes, you can do in travel.
Inshallah. Shaykh, if a diver submerges, question from one of our viewers, and that is, if a diver submerges in the water while having swimwear covering all the body, including the head, would his fast remain valid?
Well, as you know, one of the mubtilat of the siyam that invalidates the fast is to immerse your head inside the water, the complete entire head inside the water, or dive inside the water with your head. That will invalidate the fast. Again, some ulama disagree with this opinion, and they don't consider it as mubtil and avoids the fast. Anyhow, this act by itself, it will break the fast. But the diver who dives inside the sea, an ocean,
the equipment is fully covered.
yes, if he's wearing a glass helmet, let's say, quite wide and big, then that wouldn't break his fast. What breaks his fast is when he is wearing a swim hat.
Okay. It's waterproof.
That's not enough.
The water can get through.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Still, we can consider it to be as somebody who is immersing his head inside the water. Also he covered his head, for example, covered his face, for example, with a mask. I don't know, specific swim masks. I don't know if there are any, but that's not enough. Yes, the glass helmets are different. It doesn't reach. It doesn't. You can't call it that he's diving with his head. It's all protected. It's all closed.
Ahsan. Shaykh, when brushing our teeth, if one brushes their teeth and felt the flavor mouth, does that invalidate the fast?
Just the flavor would not break the fast as long as there are no bits, because sometimes you see bits of that toothpaste might go inside the throat, and that of course breaks the fast. You have to avoid swallowing these bits. And the same applies with the food remnants and remaining foods from the sahar time, from the iftar time, that you have to avoid swallowing these bits. But if it's just a flavor, that wouldn't really break the fast. That should be fine, just a flavor.
Shaykhna, I have diabetes and weakness in my body and feel very tired when fasting. Is fasting mandatory in the month of Ramadan?
Again, we answered this question many times. If the fasting is harming you, then of course the one is allowed to break his fast. make it up and qada later after this holy month. So qada of the missed days in which they couldn't fast. I know some people even they do fast although they are elderly and on diabetes, so they have two issues, and they still fast. They find it difficult, but they can fast. But if it's harming them, then they have to break the fast. According to some ulama, it's you can't fast.
Yes.
Because the condition is that it doesn't harm you, but if it harms you, then you can't fast. So that's the issue.
Shaykhna, a question from one of our viewers, and that is, the calculation of khums should be done by the marja's office, or can we calculate it ourselves?
You see, if you know the calculations, if you know the rules and the hukum of how to calculate the khumus, the percentage, how do I calculate it, then you can do it yourself. And then, at the end of the day, present the money to the marja', the khumus money to the marja' or to his office, who you trust, and that's it. You've paid your huquq al-shar'iyya. But if you can't calculate, if you don't have that details about the hukum of the khumus payments, then the best thing is to go to the marja' office or to the marja' himself and speak to him, and he can actually tell you exactly how it works and how much you have to pay.
I see.
And as I said before, this khumus, half of the khumus, that, let's say 10%, it's 20% only. 10% will go to the poor sayyids who are in need. And we have millions of sayyids who are orphans, who are widows, who are disabled, who are injured because of the war. They deserve to be paid. The other 10%, the sahmul imam, the imam's portion, that's going to go towards building schools, hospitals, nurturing and teaching new students, religious students, to be one day leaders of the community, lecturers in the community, preachers of the community, as we see in all religions. So it's not going to go anywhere. This khumus will go, inshallah, to the right direction. And of course, there's a Quran which talks about the khumus. So it's a wajib, and Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless the one who pays khumus. Allah will increase his sustenance. The rizq will be more. The purity will be in his wealth, in his body, and will be halal, inshallah, because he purified his wealth. This excess must be paid to the right people.
Thank you very much, Shaykhna. Thank you to all of you for joining us on Ahkam SOS. Inshallah, myself and the Shaykh will be back tomorrow here on Imam Hussein TV 3 at 6 p.m. If you have a question you'd like to ask, send your questions in via the WhatsApp, the email address. Give us a call, inshallah, tomorrow on Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Sisters, it's a new day and a new mission in completing this building. Now we're here on the 3rd floor, which is going to be dedicated to the Farsi channel, Imam Hussein TV 1, and inshallah this channel will be at your service for those who speak in the Farsi language. Now this is all possible with your donations, my dear brothers and sisters. This has all been possible through your contributions and your help in completing this building. This room right here is going to be
for the staff, for their planning, producing, managing the shows in the Farsi language. So my dear brothers and sisters, we are here on the 4th floor. This floor here is going to be dedicated to the Arabic channel, which is dedicated to serve its viewers in the Arabic language, the most popular Imam Hussein TV out of